Alcohol, one of the only drugs that when you don't do it in a social setting, lead you to be questioned as to why not. The question as to why alcohol is deemed as such a normal thing in the modern day society is a question I often ask myself, especially with all of the negative physical and mental health effects that come with drinking it. The answer that I often come to when I ask myself this question, it's a way for people to escape the reality for a short period of time. In saying that, alcohol has been a part of some great memories I've experienced in life. Holidays, parties and celebrations have all involved alcohol as a way to enhance my experience. But there has also been some times where I have used alcohol to escape my reality and, more importantly, the issues that I was facing at that time. I came to a point in my life where I started to see more often than not that alcohol was bringing more negatives to the table than it was positives, especially when I drank to excess and especially when work was busy and I had my own individual personal endeavours that I wanted to pursue. So on the 6th of August and on the last day of my holiday in Portugal, I had my last sip of a pint and decided to commit to 6 months sober. And here's why it was one of the best things that I have ever done. Yes, people, welcome back to Process. This is a podcast that I've been wanting to do for a while now. I have mentioned it in a few videos saying that I need to get it done, but we'll get it done eventually. We're going to be talking about my 6 months sober experience, why I did it, how I found it, how I feel afterwards, and how I felt having my first drink after 6 months. Now, originally the idea came literally just, it was kind of a coincidence. That kind of happened, was a very random thing. It wasn't super planned, but I went on holiday to Portugal. I had my last sip of a pint on, I think it was the 6th of August, on the Saturday before we went home on the Sunday. And I also had a fitness competition about 6 weeks later in September, the National Fitness Games, which was my first ever fitness competition since stopping football. So my first sort of thing that I've done, and I really wanted to take it seriously. So my idea was to do 6 weeks sober, leading up to that, get off the drink, get into a good state, really focus on my training, so I could obviously perform the best I could. What I found was then that 6 weeks I was really focused on my training. We did really well, we won that competition. I kind of realised that getting away from alcohol for that 6 week period really helped my focus, it really helped my performance in training, helped my recovery, and I fancied taking this a little bit longer. So then I came with the idea of just staying off it, 6 months sober. I also booked another fitness event, which was my High Rocks in Glasgow, which we've obviously done now. We did really well in that. That was my plan, was to stay sober until after that, which worked out just over 6 months. So it would have been 6 months on the 6th of February. The competition, I think, was the 12th or 13th or something like that of February. Then after that, I had planned to have a drink after that. So that was my 6 months sober kind of plan. So that's how it kind of came about. And we're going to obviously dive into how I felt during it and why I kind of wanted to do it for that long. And the kind of benefits that I felt for it, because I did really see a lot of benefits, more than I actually thought I would. And it did take a little bit of a time for those benefits to kind of creep in. And the longer I did it, the more the benefits started to show, and there was different ones that I kind of found after a certain period. So we'll run through some of the benefits and some of the things that I found. Firstly, I didn't find it super hard to an extent. Yes, there was times, especially around Christmas, that was probably a challenging part, where alcohol is normally a big thing within my family, within the culture of Christmas, especially being in Britain and the UK. We all like to go to pubs and have a glass of port, a glass of wine, a pint, whatever it is, maybe a Baileys or something like that, whatever it is at Christmas time. That was a little bit of a challenge because I'd kind of had a little bit of a summer beforehand. So I had my holiday in August. I'd done a beefer in June prior to that, so I did kind of get out my system, and I've never really had a massive issue with drinking. And there was a few times that I noticed the older I've got, the more obviously you have going on in life, the more issues you have in life, the more stress, work, the more pressures you do have. And I was finding that all I was getting, the more of a negative effect alcohol was having on me, in terms of I was getting ill more often every time I drank, which I never used to. The hangovers were worse. My anxiety was a lot worse the day afterwards when I was hungover. I'd never really had it, especially when I was younger. I would say probably I drank the most when I was like 19, 20 years old. That was kind of my year where I used to go out a little bit more. I never used to get really bad hangovers. I could still go to the gym the next day and still train. However, now as I got older, I was just finding my recovery wasn't there. Maybe it's because I've trained harder now than I used to. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older and I can't recover as well. My joints used to swell up. It didn't used to sit well for me. So there was too many negative effects from going on nights out. And even if I was having one or two drinks, I've never been someone who really would go out for 1 or 2 drinks, it would either be, right, I might have maybe one every so often, or it was literally a big night out. There was never really like all right, I'm just going to go for like a couple of pints with my mates sort of thing. It was either a big night out or like one drink. So for me, it was the big night out that was killing me. And there's no real point of just going out and having one drink. I was thinking to myself, you know, why am I doing this? I might as well just commit to 6 months sober, cut out all them little 1 or 2 drinks that I have here and there, cut out nights out, have a good 6-month period of focusing on something. And like I mentioned before, having that fitness competition booked at the end of it really, really helped me stay on track and keep my momentum and not think about drinking, because I knew, one, I would let myself down massively if I did have a drink of alcohol and I would beat myself up for it. And 2, I had this competition and I wanted to be in the best place possible. It was a competition that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone, something that I'd never really done before. It involved a lot of running, which I'm terrible at, which I'm learning to get better at. So yeah, I just wanted to be in the best physical and mental state possible for that. And I had a lot of things on. I wanted to push my business a little bit more this year. And I knew that alcohol wasn't going to help that. It was almost like, I call it like a speed bump on your road to success or your journey, whatever it is. So I just wanted to cut everything out and commit to it. And I've heard a lot of benefits of people doing 6 months sober just for productivity. And I wanted to give it a go. So that was what we did. 6 months sober, leading all the way up to my high rocks. Kind of worked nicely. That was my birthday month in February as well. So that was my clear goal. And yeah, we'll talk about the benefits of what I found. The first one, which was a big one, was I didn't get ill once during the 6 months. I was not ill. Prior to that, I would get ill if I did have a drink. I would get I'd feel a bit run down. I was ill quite a lot, to be fair, over last summer. I don't know if it was just allergies or just being run down or whatever it was. But I didn't get ill once. There was even a few times where I had a lot of clients coming in over Christmas time, November, December. There was like a little bit of a sickness bug going around. There's a lot of flus. There's a few of my clients coming in with sniffly noses, coughing, sneezing. And there was only one time where I felt like I caught something. I had a client in the morning, and I remember I was spotting him on bench press, and he kind of coughed halfway through a set, obviously by accident. And I felt it come in my face. I felt like I was going to start to get myself ill. However, the next morning I was absolutely fine. I didn't feel any different. So yeah, didn't get ill once in the 6 months. Funny thing is, which we'll obviously touch on later, literally the first night out that I had, the next week I was ill. So there's a little bit of correlation there, but I think it was a combination of obviously not drinking alcohol. I've been really good with my sleep, which is a knock-on effect of obviously not drinking. My sleep's massively improved. I was hammering saunas quite a bit, and I was living a very healthy lifestyle. I think it's kind of a knock-on effect, a snowball effect of not drinking. Your lifestyle becomes a lot healthier because what you want to end up doing, the habits, the things, the lifestyle you live is a lot healthier than when you were drinking, because drinking is not a healthy habit to have. So number one, didn't get ill. Second thing, my weekends were so productive. Weekends are where people normally fall off their diet, their training, their habits, just everything. Weekends where people go wrong. And for me, that was obviously when I would drink. I only really get 1 day off a week, so I would drink on a Saturday night if I was to go out or have a few drinks. Now that I wasn't doing that, I was so much more productive. I was getting all my kind of admin stuff done. I was getting ahead on the week ahead. I was working on projects at the routine reset. My weekends, I was going for runs, obviously as part of my training. I was going for runs. I was doing C-dips on a Sunday morning, which I'll again touch on next, which is kind of one of the things that I absolutely love doing now. Is going for a run and doing a C-dip. That is one of my, and then going for a coffee and breakfast afterwards. It's one of my favorite things to do now, which I'll touch on in a second. But my weekends were just so productive. There was nothing getting in the way of me getting a bit of work done. I started an email newsletter, which I now write on weekends now, write them on a Sunday. I was getting additional check-ins done. Obviously, my online client base was building a little bit, so I was doing a few more check-ins on weekend. That was super productive. Like I said, I was training on weekends. I used to start, when I first started 6 months sober, I would train every kind of Saturday afternoon, do a really big workout, maybe run to the gym, which was about 5K, do a 45-minute to an hour session, run back. So I was wiping myself out. So pretty much all I was doing on the Saturday afternoon was putting my feet up, maybe having a nap and eating plenty of food. So that just stopped me, didn't make me want to drink at all. So that's what I kind of did to start off with, to stop me from wanting to drink. Train really hard on a Saturday, and then I would have a little bit of a gym session as well on a Sunday. Now it kind of flipped, that now Saturday is my rest day, and Sunday is now my long run and C-dip day. So my weekends were just really, really good and productive. Next one was I found what truly made me happy, what gave me true happiness. Now, I've talked about it in the past. There's been podcasts, I think it was a Chris Williamson podcast, or maybe was it James Smith, talking about happiness versus pleasure. I think they might have both discussed it. So pleasure is the things like that give you them sort of highs, like drugs, alcohol, partying, all that sort of thing, like people who watch porn, all them things which aren't good for you. They're things that give you this dopamine hit, this stimulus, but realistically on something that you want to sustain for the rest of your life and keep you, because they're only kind of a short-term glimpse of a high, and then you go back down to maybe below kind of ground zero and go into a bit more of a negative state. Whereas happiness is things that you can sustain, that do make you feel good and that are good for you, and that you can live continuously doing them things, and they're not going to have any negative effects. So it's things like going for long walks, getting outside, spending time with friends, training, exercising, getting the high from that, sea dips, cold showers, saunas, just anything that gives you that buzz for life that is gonna be able to obviously be sustainable long term, rather than just giving you these highs and lows, which these kind of external stimuluses do. And so I found what made me happy, which is these stupid things like going for a run on a Sunday morning, going in the sea for a sea dip, meeting Bryony and then taking Lola for a walk down the sea, getting a coffee, getting a good breakfast on a Sunday morning, being productive, getting up early mornings, especially when the sun's rising. You don't get that if you end up drinking. You end up missing that. So I was finding things like that. My enjoyment for trainings went up a lot more as well. My focus, obviously, because I keep on now booking competitions. I found a love for the hybrid, high rock style of training, which was something I never got into. Running was something that I never, ever thought I would get into. But now I'm really getting into that. I'm loving it, the long continuous zone 2 runs. You get into such a good mental state. It's almost like a meditative state that you get into when you get in that flow where your heart rate's sitting at like 130-ish, not too hard, you're breathing a little bit heavy. You can maybe stick a podcast in, or sometimes I just have nothing in, and just your mind starts thinking about all these positive thoughts. Ideas come to your mind, business-wise, life-wise, things you want to do. I've just got a lot more clarity about things that make me happy, rather than I feel like it took me like a good 3, maybe 4 months to get into that state after not drinking alcohol. Initially there was still a little bit of like craving alcohol and like living for that weekend, which a lot of people do, like looking forward to the weekend. For me now, it was kind of like every day was the same. Even my weekends, I was kind of like, yes, I'm looking forward to my Sunday routine, but I'm not dreading my Monday. I'm not dreading work. Like now I'm actually getting excited for work. My mindset completely shifted. It was weird kind of what it does to you're taking away this something that you kind of, it's a kind of constant crutch that people look forward to at weekends as an escape, because alcohol, like I've mentioned before, is an escape from reality for a short period of time. And then obviously when you get back out with when you're not drunk and you kind of wake up the next day, you're hungover, you're in such a negative state, you're dreading going to work the next day, your mindset, it takes you a few days to recover from it. It's just not a good mental state to be in. So yeah, I really did find what makes me happy. It gave me time to really work on myself, have a bit of time to think about what I want in my life and what I want to be able to do and what I want to be able to look back on when I'm older, and what I've achieved. So yeah, the alcohol definitely cutting that out massively improved my happiness. And like I mentioned, in terms of the sea dips, it made me kind of focus on the natural highs of life rather than the dopamine hits that drugs, alcohol, party, and all that sort of stuff does. It just made me focus on them things, and I found a new love for running, for sea dips, all the natural things that you probably see people later in life, and even like hiking, going outside. I've heard, it was a podcast with Fergus Crawley talking about everyone in Scotland, because everyone drinks so early in Scotland when they're like 13, 14, 15, they kind of get the drinking thing out of the system, and by the time they get to 25, they're chasing the highs of climbing all the Monroses is it Monroses or Montroses in Scotland, all the mountains and stuff. Like there's a different sort of level of high and happiness that you get from experiencing things like that, experiencing things with people, going for hikes. I've got the 3 Peaks Challenge planned as well, so creating those memories with people, they're the highs that you want. Even doing hard workouts with people, things like that create such better highs and connections with people and with life than going out and drinking. That's probably the best way I can put it. But yeah, just all the things that I've found that really make me happy have been through when I've taken alcohol out of my system. So next positive from the 6 months sober, definitely the fittest I've been. I think it's just a combination of Taking the alcohol out of my system, my focus has been a lot better with training, my recovery's been a lot better, and my sleep's improved massively, because obviously alcohol massively impairs sleep, stops you from getting that deep sleep and that REM sleep, especially even if you have like one glass of wine or one pint or something like that, like a couple of hours before bed, that's still going to massively impact your sleep. I know people say alcohol knocks them out and puts them to sleep. Yes, but that quality of sleep's not going to be good. If you ever had a night out and the next day you wake up super early and you just can't get back to sleep, that's the alcohol in your system impairing your sleep. So my sleep's been a lot better, recovery's been a lot better. My inflammation in my joints, because I've had a lot of injuries, that's got a lot better as well. Alcohol's always been something that's inflamed my joints, my knees, my ankles. That's massively helped that. So yeah, fitness wise, I feel amazing from doing it. And like I said, my focus was just so good because I had a fitness event booked in and I didn't have any distractions with alcohol. I was feeling great from it. As I mentioned before, the momentum side of things, I mentioned that alcohol was kind of like a speed bump in my road of life. So taking that away just meant that everything was super smooth. Like I said, my weekends were productive. It was just, there was nothing interrupting me at all. There was no reason for me to get ill. There was no reason for me to not sleep well. There was no reason for me to miss training sessions. It was just a smooth plain road, no speed bumps in between. And I just felt really, really good for it. So now, obviously, I completed my 6 months sober after the High Rocks. I had a night out planned afterwards. The funny thing was, I finished my High Rocks. I was on such a high. The buzz from High Rocks, that's why I've booked so many High Rocks now. The buzz from High Rocks was the best thing I've ever felt probably in my entire life. Getting across that finish line, obviously me and Marcus got a really good time. We got sub 60 minutes, got 59:38, I think it was. Managed to qualify for the World Championship. So we were on such a high after the race that I just didn't want to drink. I was like, why do I need to drink? I was driving home from Scotland, from Glasgow, and I was just thinking, like, I really do not want to go out here. I had already planned out, I booked places to go out for food and a few drinks afterwards. Had a big night out plan. I had this plan for ages. Obviously, because when I was sober, I was thinking, like when I was doing my 6 months sober, I was thinking, oh, I'll be really looking forward to having a drink after, especially after a High Rocks, and kind of like something I've been really building up to. But I really wasn't bothered at all. I could have happily went home, had a nice meal, like a takeaway, like a Lebanese meal or something like that I've been enjoying, or a Nando's, just anything, something like that. On a Saturday night, went to bed nice and early and got up and did my normal Sunday routine, because I was in that much of a routine with it, and I knew that's what makes me happy. But obviously I had it planned. I felt a little bit sick on the way home as well, to be fair, from all the adrenaline getting out of my system from High Rocks, so that probably didn't help. I just didn't want to stomach anything. So it was a weird sort of feeling. And in terms of what I felt like having my first drink, I had a pint of Peroni. Wasn't bothered at all. It was really weird. Like, I thought I'd be quite excited to have one, but I just wasn't bothered. I was more bothered about the food we were having, so I probably ate more food than drank. But I went on a night out. I had 6 or 7 drinks. Didn't actually feel too drunk. I was surprised how little it did affect me. But 6 or 7 drinks, so not crazy one. Got to like 10 o'clock, I was knackered, to be fair. I was absolutely knackered from the High Rocks anyway. So I stayed out until like 1 o'clock. I had an event, but we ended up going home early. And the next day I felt horrendous. I didn't feel too anxious because I didn't drink too much, but I just felt tired. I tried to go for a sauna to sort me out. I went for a long walk. Tried to get myself together, but I just didn't like that feeling of not feeling 100% there. And then even the next week, as I mentioned before, I was ill, I was run down, so I trained on Monday, still didn't feel too good. I had to take Tuesday, Wednesday off training completely. I was run down, I was all bunged up with my nose, my sleep wasn't good. I just didn't feel great from it. Obviously, I know the longer that you have away from alcohol, the more the effects are going to hit you. So I understand I was 6 months sober and the effects of alcohol are going to hit me a lot more. But I just didn't like that feeling of not feeling 100% then. And even when I was drinking, I didn't like not feeling in control of my own mind and my own thoughts, which when you are sober, you're a lot more in control of what goes on up there. You just lose that control. I just didn't like that feeling. Hence why I didn't actually drink loads. Like I said, 6 or 7 drinks, which wasn't too much. I was kind of just didn't want to go too far down into the kind of a negative place with drinking. But yeah, after that, since then, so it's been about 6 weeks since I've done my 6 months sober. I went away with my mates for a weekend in Scotland. I literally had one little tiny can of a beer, never tried, a Jubel beer, which was actually quite nice. We went for a little bit of a hike. I had one little beer, the sun was shining. That was absolutely fine. I wasn't, but that was probably a nice sort of level in terms of having a drink. My knee swelled up a little bit, which was a bit annoying, but just having that one drink was absolutely fine. Didn't drink anything for the rest of the weekend. Then since then, me and Bryony went away to Dublin. We had a night out on the first night. Again, I was quite sensible, probably had 6 or 7 drinks again. Lucky this time the hangover wasn't too bad. I still managed to train the next day. But I think it's different when you're on holiday drinking compared to drinking when you know you've got to go to work in like a day or two time. There's a different mindset that you kind of, all them negative emotions hit you more. Say if you drink on a Saturday, you know you've got work on a Monday, you wake up hungover on a Sunday, and you know you got to go to work and you feel a lot more negative and you just really don't want to go and do it. So I found drinking when I'm not on holiday is probably what I'm not going to do. And when I'm on holiday, I'm probably going to enjoy myself a little bit more. So it wasn't too bad when I was away, but just the drinking every weekend, living for the weekend, that's completely gone now. I'm not too bothered about going out. It's the late nights as well. I don't like that because I'm an early morning person. I get up at 5, half 5, most times during the week. I look forward to getting up early. I like being productive in the morning. I like feeling good. And alcohol stops that. So in the future, the plan is I'll only really drink when I'm abroad or it's going to be special occasions. I've kind of jotted out in my journal 5 or 6 times this year when I'm going to drink. So I've got a beefer which I will be drinking. I've got my mate's wedding. I've got me and my dad are going to have a pint after my high rocks in Malaga. Probably just have 1 pint just to celebrate that and have a pint with my dad. Just as a nice experience to have, especially when you're on holiday. And then I've got a week in August when we're away for a little bit of a holiday down in Wales. So saving the alcohol for certain occasions, I think depending on what sort of relationship you have with alcohol, because I know everybody has different relationships. I know some people have addictive personalities. Some people have a sort of personality where if they do drink, it leads on to other things like drugs and making mistakes and fighting and stuff. I think some people are way better off actually just completely cutting alcohol out completely and not even tempting themselves with having 1 pint, because that 1 pint soon turns to 2 or 3. 2 or 3 soon turns into 7 or 8, and then things can go downhill from there. But if you can control it, I think saving it for special occasions, and it does make it feel a little bit more special. And alcohol can enhance experiences. Like I said at the start, I've had really good experiences with alcohol on holidays, parties, celebrations. The alcohol has been a part of it, so I think it can be a good enhancer of things, but it shouldn't be something that's needed. I think people use it too much to try and escape the reality on a weekly basis. If you are drinking every Friday and Saturday to try and escape the job that you hate, to try and escape the relationship you hate, the life that you're not happy with, then I think you need to commit to a good period of being sober and find what makes you happy and find ways around the issues that you've got rather than trying to escape it. So I think everybody should commit to 6 months sober. It really has honestly changed my perception of life. I've been a lot more happy the last 6 months because I found the things that truly give me meaning and give me happiness. And I'm in a very good place at the minute, thanks to 6 months sober. So I would definitely recommend doing it. For anybody who's, even if you haven't had issues with alcohol, I think you should commit to it, especially if you have a fitness goal. Book something at the end of the 6 months, like a fitness challenge, a fitness event, high rocks. I really recommend high rocks to anybody. But yeah, I would recommend definitely doing it. One thing that I nearly forgot to mention as well was what alcohol did in terms of my friendship. Now, I didn't really have a lot of people who were in my friendship circle who were massive on going out loads, but it definitely has opened my eyes to the people who I was maybe spending time with just to go out for the sake of going out and drinking, compared to the people who I wanted to spend time with doing the things that I love, like going for runs, like training, like just going for sea dips and stuff like that. I've made some really good friendships in terms of with my clients and doing the sea dips, made some new friends in terms of the training, the high roxes, the experience, the running, all them certain things, finding people who have got similar interests to me rather than just having a group of friends who I just go out with for the sake of it. Surrounding yourself with people with similar mindsets who are very focused on similar sort of outcomes and similar sort of career focus, or maybe like fitness focus, whatever it is, any sort of endeavors like that. It definitely carries over to yourself. So if you are surrounding yourself with positive people in the same mission, you're going to probably push yourself further and push yourself that little bit more, and you're also going to be happier and feel less on your own, if you get what I mean, rather than feeling like an outlier because you don't want to drink, because you're the only person in your friendship group who doesn't want to drink. You'll soon find the longer that you kind of step away from that environment, if you want to make a change and want to improve your life, the sooner you'll start surround yourself with people who are a lot more positive. Like every time I go for a C dip, there's a few people who I see there and we just chat away because we're all in a similar sort of positive mindset. We're all trying to do things for our health. We know the benefits of the C dips, and obviously the endorphin release you get from that cold exposure is amazing. Every time I go into a sauna now, there's always a few people who I like to speak to, like the people who are in there for like 20, 30 minutes. We're all very health focused and we all have similar mindsets because we're all doing the similar thing to try and benefit our health. You will soon find the more that you stick to things that you that truly make you happy and that are going to benefit your health and your life, the sooner you'll find that people naturally come into your life who are on similar pathways, and you'll make new relationships, new friendships, and it'll also better yourself as well. So just another little thing to add. You definitely, yes, you might be alone to start off with, but there will be people who come into your circle who you didn't realize were going to be in your circle because they're on a similar mission, and that will definitely improve your happiness, your productivity, your overall just satisfaction with life. And so just a little thing to add, which I nearly forgot to add in. Yeah, that is it. The roundup of the 6 month sober experience. Hopefully you found it beneficial, and hopefully I haven't rambled too much. I said I was going to get this video out. Just wanted to kind of discuss it because it was a big thing that I wanted to do. I probably will do 6 months sober again at some point. Obviously, for now I'm just gonna probably not drink until after my high rocks in 5 weeks time. So I'll be doing like 6 weeks, of not drinking. And just having little stints of sobriety, just planning things out and mapping out certain occasions, certain times you're going to drink, certain periods where you're going to have a bit of stint of sobriety and have a little bit of focus and clarity, especially if you're someone who has that success mindset. Definitely cut alcohol out because, again, like I said, it's a speed bump in your road of life, and you will definitely be a lot more productive, happy, focused, and get better results. So that is it for this shortish podcast. Hopefully I haven't bored you too much. If you did enjoy it, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you subscribe. Leave us a little bit of a review, get my words out. And yeah, I appreciate you listening to me waffling again for 25 or whatever minutes it's been. But there will be podcasts in the future. There'll be more videos in the future. I'll catch you when I next do one. Thank you very much for watching and listening. This has been Process.